So imagine it's a weekend night. It's late at night and you're feeling a little bit bored, so you decide to go on Tinder. So you're on Tinder, you're swiping through all of these copy and paste 6'4" by the way guys, but you then come across one guy that kind of catches your eye. His name is Treshon, he's 26, and he ironically lives only 3 miles away from you. So you decide to text him, not really expecting it to go anywhere, until you start to realize that he has the same humor as you and he's a bit charming. So you think to yourself, maybe he's different from the rest. But the only odd thing about Treshon is that in his profile, he claims to be a police officer for specifically the BCSO, aka the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, it's not weird that he's a police officer, but it's weird because you yourself are also a police officer and you also work for the BCSO. So this actually did happen to a female officer who worked for the BCSO, and she came across Treshon's profile. And so at first she didn't confront him. She was just kind of asking him a couple of questions, playing along. So she then asked him, how long have you been working there for? And he says that he'd been working there for a couple years. And then she asks him, okay, so what's your job title there? And all he said was police officer and didn't specify what kind of officer he was. He didn't specify his title or if he was on the field or in the office or if he handled categorized cases. He literally just said police officer. So at this point, this woman is starting to get a weird feeling about all of this. And the only reason that this woman knows that he's clearly not a police officer is because she herself is an officer. So you have to think, how many other women has he gone through on Tinder and they fully believe that he is a police officer. So on April 24th of 2023, that's when this female officer came across Treshon's profile. And from the look of his profile, it seemed like he was an actual police officer. He would take selfies of himself wearing official police gear. There was this one photo of him wearing a vest. He has a gun in his holster. He has official BCSO patches and a badge, a patch and a badge that you can only get when you are admitted into the police force. So how he got these materials is just crazy. So the next day, this woman goes into work and she starts showing his profile around to all of her coworkers, and they also don't know who he is and has never seen him there before. So what they decide to do is have this female officer talk to him through Tinder and set up a date. But then when he would get to the date, it wouldn't be this girl from Tinder, it would actually be real BCSO police.
Open the door from the outside.
Wearing his uniform shirt, he's got a badge on his shirt.
Slowly take your seatbelt off. Slowly. Exit the car. You have hands back there, Ian?
So when police actually look up Treshon into the system, they find out that his name isn't even Treshon. His real name is Rico Treshon Dukes, and he's originally from South Carolina but had moved to New Mexico a couple years ago. His mom was actually in the Air Force for 22 years and actually had a pretty high position at the Air Force, but then retired back in 2017, where she moved from New Mexico, where she was living with Treshon, and then she moved to Arkansas. And Arkansas is mostly where a lot of Treshon's family lives, besides his sister who lives in Las Vegas. So Treshon shows up to this date, and when he actually is there, that's when he's met with police. And so the police handcuff him and put him into the car, and surprisingly, he doesn't put up a fight at all. He doesn't ask what the officers are doing. He simply just is put into cuffs. He has his gun taken away from him, and he's put into the back of the car. And I think the most craziest part about this entire story is that he showed up to the date wearing his uniform, which I just think is so funny to me, weirdly, because it's like, I don't know, I feel like if you're showing up to a date, you want to make a good first impression, so you're gonna wear something nice, and like wearing your work clothes is not just like something, I don't know, like I just think it's weird. Like, does he think that police officers are just never like regular people? They're just always police officers. And so then after Treshon is put into the back of the squad car, as the police are on the way to the station, that's when the officer that's in the car gets a call from a local college campus. And this college goes on to tell this officer that he needs to stop at the college campus because Treshon currently has 3 counts of carrying a gun onto college campus, and they were currently giving him 3 more counts after he didn't oblige by the first one. So as the officer is on the way with Treshon in the back seat on the way to the police station, the police officer then has to take a pit stop to this college campus to pick up more papers and more charges for Treshon.
What happened?
Chain of command said arrest.
Okay.
He carried a gun on a school campus last week, and they said arrest tonight.
Cool. Yeah, 'cause he's like, what's going on? And I was like, God, I don't know.
Yeah, you can let him know. He's getting charged with 3 more counts, and then for unlawful carrying of a deadly weapon on school property.
And apparently 2 weeks prior to this, Treshon had showed up to a high school in Albuquerque called Volcano Vista High School, and this was actually his high school that he used to go to, but he showed up onto this high school campus walking around with a gun in his holster with a vest and his badge, and he claimed that he was there trying to visit an old teacher, but it really wasn't looking like it, and that's why they immediately got him off of campus and charged him with 3 counts. But then he later came back, and so then they were charging him with 3 more counts. So when Treshon was officially brought to the station, he immediately denied everything. And then when the interrogators had asked him where he got his uniform from, and Treshon claimed that he got his uniform and everything, including his badges and his patch, from a store called Kaufman's. Now, if you guys don't know what Kaufman's is, it's a store in New Mexico, specifically in Albuquerque, where you can basically purchase old military and police like memorabilia. But usually whenever you purchase things from here, you have to show an ID specifying that you are in the Air Force and that's why you're purchasing this. So things like this don't happen, where you could just go around and pretend to be in the military or go around and pretend to be a police officer. So then after this, that's when the interrogators start asking Treshon specifically about his uniform, and they start asking him, you know, what is the purpose for you wearing the uniform? And Treshon goes on to say that the reason he's wearing like the police uniform, the badge, the patches, is because he's trying to give a little shout out to the BCSO police department, and he's wearing it for like promotional reasons.
Why did you get the uniform?
Just for like promotional stuff.
Promotional?
Yeah.
What do you mean, promotional stuff?
Just like he said, so
Okay.
videos and stuff.
Okay. So to promote BCSO?
Yeah.
And do you work for the Sheriff's Department? And how do you promote BCSO?
It's like videos and stuff.
Videos and stuff? What kind of videos do you take?
Just like the buildings, BCSO, try to get like pictures with them and stuff.
Okay. Have you taken a lot of videos and stuff?
I'm just starting, so no.
Oh, just starting?
Yeah.
Have you taken any yet?
So Treshon goes on to say that he wears the uniform just to promote the police department and kind of like give them credit or something. And so after this, that's when Treshon starts talking about his family. And he says that he actually has 2 cousins who are twins who are both sheriffs in Richland County. But when the interrogators ask him, you know, what are their names, he claims that he doesn't know their names because they're on his dad's side. And as I said earlier, the place Miss Kaufman's, you cannot buy these things without showing an ID first. So the interrogators ask him, how are you able to buy that without an ID? But Treshon literally just says that there was a lady there that just gave it to him because he told them that it was for promotional work for the police station. Like, it was going to be used in promotional videos and stuff. So they just kind of sold it to him without an ID. So now the interrogators are starting to shift their interest into specifically Treshon's profile. So they start asking him, well, if you were using this uniform for promotional work, then why were all of these pictures on your Tinder profile? You with the official patches, you have a vest on, you have a gun. Like, why were you doing all of this on your Tinder profile if it's clearly not promotional? And Treshon just says, oh, well, I thought the pictures looked good. I thought it looked cool, so that's why I posted it.
And so why did you post these pictures of you in uniform on Tinder?
Just for, I don't know, just because I have them, just to use them.
Just to use? And were you saying that you were with BCSO? Cause
Yeah, I told a few people.
you told a few people? Yeah. Okay. And then how many people have you met up with in this uniform?
Met up with?
Yeah, from
Like
Tinder.
from Tinder? None of them.
You haven't
Not
met
yet,
up with
no.
any of them?
No.
This is going to be the first time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So after this, the interrogators were actually able to gain access into Treshon's phone and look at all of his Tinder conversations. And during this time, he was actively talking to 15 different women and having active relationships with 5 of them. And to all of these women, especially the ones that he was in these relationships with, he would tell all of them that he was a police officer. He would go on to say that he actually worked for the Albuquerque Police Department for about a year, and then he got transferred over to BCSO about 4 years ago. He would go on to tell girls that he works only night shifts at BCSO, but all of that was a lie because obviously Treshon is not a police officer, and he actually worked at Jack in the Box. That was his full-time job at the time. He actually quit Jack in the Box, and then he decided to take the police exam in order to be a real police officer, but he unfortunately failed the 600 question paper exam. So after that, he then went back to Jack in the Box, but it was also suspected around this time when he started to impersonate himself as a police officer. And shortly after he didn't get into the police program, he actually got arrested for assaulting a police officer, but later on, all of these charges were dismissed. So Treshon claims that he's only had run-ins with the law once, and it was from a couple months back when he didn't respond to court for abuse, and so he was picked up by U.S. Marshals and taken to jail. But when looking at Treshon's record, they actually found that Treshon currently had 2 restraining orders against him, once against his ex-girlfriend and then the other one from his son's mother. And his son's mother actually had a restraining order on Treshon for a year and then got her restraining order reactivated, and then after it was reactivated, that's when Treshon goes on to say that he attempted a self-harm incident as a way to, quote, try to make a point. And this led him to the hospital, and he was in psychiatric evaluation for a week, and then he was later dismissed. And as the police are trying to talk to Treshon, they feel like Treshon is just being way too nonchalant, and he doesn't really understand the severity of his actions, because that sort of situation could be extremely dangerous. If Treshon were to be in a situation where there was an emergency and someone needed to flag down an officer, like if someone was getting robbed, or if someone was getting hurt, or if someone was hurt, they would need an officer and they would try to flag someone down with authority to come over and help them. But if Treshon is in that situation, he literally can't do anything. He would have to go off to the side and call a real officer. He has no authority to do anything. He has no proper training to even use his gun. And so if he were to be in a situation where he needed to use it, there would be a big possibility that he could misuse it. And so that's that's why it's so dangerous for Treshon to just be walking around with this police uniform on all the time, because he really has no authority, yet it seems like he kind of likes the feeling of having authority. And when police asked Treshon how many times he's went out with his uniform on, he says that he only went out with his uniform one time, and it was one time when he went to a gas station, which I believe is a straight up lie, because he literally went to a first date with his uniform on.
While wearing this uniform, have you ever been flagged down by anybody that were asking you for help with something or anything like that?
I'm never out and about with it like that.
How many times have you gone out and about in it?
Probably just once.
Tell me about that.
There's a gas station by my house. Just got gas there.
What gas station?
I think it's a Phillips 66.
And not only was Treshon promoting all of this BCSO stuff on his Tinder, he was also portraying to be an officer on his Facebook as well, with the same exact BCSO, the patches, the badge, all of his pictures. So he was also portraying to be an officer on Facebook. So that means all the women on Facebook that went to his profile, he was also talking to those women as well, pretending to be a police officer.
Because at the end of the day, we gotta figure out, are you not to be offensive, all right?
I understand.
Do we gotta figure out you're just some dumbass trying to pick up chicks?
Right.
Or there's more to this?
Right.
That's what we have to figure. That's what my role is, to figure that out.
Right.
If I was to ask you, which one is it? Are you just some guy trying to score chicks, or are you?
No.
No?
No.
All right.
So at this point, the police are really starting to come down on Treshon, and that's when they question him about his uniforms, and they ask him, okay, do you have any other like uniform or any sort of police gear at your house? And that's when he says, no, all I have is the uniform that I'm wearing right now. But then the interrogator literally pulls out 2 photos, one of him wearing a black vest with like a black BCSO shirt, and then the other one is just a plain navy blue BCSO shirt with a badge. And that's when Treshon tries to say that the one of him in the vest that they're showing him isn't actually Treshon. It's actually a photoshopped picture of like a random guy that he found online. But then the detective pulls out another photo, and it's Treshon in the vest, but it's a photo with his son. And that's when she's like, is this Photoshop too? And he falls completely silent.
Do you have any other gear at your residence that could be viewed as law enforcement gear?
No, just these 2.
What about a black tactical vest?
No.
Tell me about the vest that you have, that you're wearing in a picture on Facebook.
Which one?
The one that's on Facebook. You're wearing
Black one.
There's a black tactical vest. Tell me about it.
Black. I don't have a picture of a black one.
What color is it?
Like a dark green.
It's a dark green? Okay. Tell me about that vest.
Or just a picture I use.
Where's this vest at?
I don't have that vest.
Whose vest is it?
It's just a picture I use.
Okay, so you have a picture of you wearing this vest. How did you get this
It's
picture?
not. I found it off the internet.
You found it off the internet?
That picture, yeah.
Is it a picture of you?
No, it's not a picture of me.
It's not a picture of you on your
No.
Facebook?
That's the only one I have of a vest, and that's the picture I use from the internet.
Is your child a boy or a girl?
He's a boy.
Boy? How old is he?
He'll be 3 in September.
And so the picture on Facebook is not of you and your son with you in a vest.
Unless it's from... Oh, I know which one you're talking about. From security, when I worked at New Mexico Protective Force.
Okay. It's going to be, here's the thing, it's going to be good for you to just come forward with stuff for us.
No, I got you.
Because we're trying to work with you.
I didn't know which one you guys were talking about.
So at this point, Treshon is starting to feel the pressure a little bit, and he's starting to panic because he's kind of making up things on the spot. And there's actually this one part where he literally outs himself because the police find out that he actually does have a FOID card, so he can technically have a gun, but he doesn't have a conceal and carry. So he would have to keep his gun somewhere at his home or his apartment, but he cannot take it out and about. So that's when they ask him, okay, you have a gun. How many times have you shot the gun? Treshon says that he only shot the gun once when he went to the gun range. And so they ask him, what car did you drive when you went to the gun range? And that's when Treshon says that he drove his friend's car, which was a gray Chevy Silverado truck. But then Treshon kind of outs himself a little bit, and he says to the detectives, oh, are you talking about the bullet shell casings in my car? And they're confused. They're like, wait, what? And he's like, oh, my car, my rental car right now. There's bullet shell casings in there. Is that what you're referring to? And they're like, no, why is there bullet shell casings in your car? And then he completely switches up his story. And when you watch this clip, I don't even think Treshon himself thinks that he's making sense right now.
You went shooting before you got the rental car.
Right.
Yes or no?
Yes.
You did?
Right.
And have you only shot the gun one time?
Once. Yeah, out in the Mesa.
And it wasn't in the rental car?
No.
What car did you go shooting in?
I don't know, it was a friend's car.
Friend's car? What kind of car was it?
Like a Chevy,
Chevy what?
like a Silverado.
It was a truck?
Yeah. So you guys talking about the hard shell casings?
The what?
Hard shell casings?
What are you talking about?
Because I have shell casings in the car.
Oh, you do?
That's what you guys are talking about.
Where are those from?
From when we went shooting. They probably just came out of my pocket or something.
In the rental car?
Yeah.
So you did go shooting in the rental car?
Not in it, no. But I'm saying once, like the bullets fell out in the rental.
Okay.
Like after.
So, I'm sorry. You said
So I'm
you
saying
went
we went
shooting before
shooting.
you had the rental car.
Yeah.
So you didn't
And we
have the
had
car
our-
rented at the time.
No. We
And
had
you
all
went
our
shooting.
bullets. Yeah.
And you put them in your
They were
pants?
probably in the car, yeah.
And how did they get in the car?
Like from when we went shooting, but I had the casings in my pants. My
Okay, see,
jackets
that's
and
why I'm
stuff.
confused. You said you went shooting before you had the rental car. And now
Right.
you're saying that you went shooting with...
And then when I got the rental car, that's what I thought you guys were asking.
Oh.
So
Okay.
we collected the bullets and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you picked up the bullets after shooting in your friend's Chevy Silverado or pickup
Right.
truck. How long after you went shooting did you go get the rental car?
That's a week later.
A week later you got the rental?
In the shell
And
casing?
then
I'm
how
sorry.
did the shell casings get into that car?
When we collected them, and they probably just fell out.
So in the end, after everything was already said and done, they went through the Tinder profile, they went through his car, went through his phone. That's when Treshon was officially arrested and convicted of 6 counts of unlawful carrying of a weapon on school property and 1 count of impersonating an officer. So then after this, that's when this story kind of made headlines for a lot of big news outlets because it's kind of a crazy story of like a fake officer matching with a real officer on Tinder. So after this was made public, that's when 3 separate women would come forward to the police, to the Albuquerque police, with actual message conversations between them and Treshon, saying that they actually have spoken and had relationships with Treshon. And all 3 of these girls would say that Treshon was 100% a police officer in their mind. Like, there was this one girl that got invited back to Treshon's apartment where he was just openly showing off all of his old police gear. He was showing her his gun, his old badges, all of his vests. He had told all 3 of these women that he actually was a police officer for the BCSO, and then there was one of the women that showed a picture that Treshon had sent one of these girls. It was a picture of like a very random, blurry police graduation. So it was just a bunch of people lined up with their hats really low, and they were graduating from the police academy. And so he basically took this picture, circled a random person in red and told this girl, oh yeah, that was me at my graduation. I'm sorry, it's blurry. You can't really see my face. But when this girl received this picture, she had no reason not to believe him. So she just thought, oh my God, that's him at his graduation. But in reality, it was just a random picture that he pulled off the internet, and then he circled a random person in the background. But in the end, at Treshon's actual court date to the judge, the judge believed that this crime wasn't really that brutal of a crime. Treshon had said at his trial that the reason why he was like impersonating an officer was truly just to pick up women. He said that he believed if he wore the uniform and showed a sign of authority, then he would get more women. That's why he was only really an officer online to Tinder, and then also on Facebook. It purely looked like he was a police officer, and from Treshon's standpoint, he said that he was doing that as a way to pick up women. So the judge claims that that wasn't really a brutal crime, that's just extremely immoral, and it didn't deserve an actual prison sentence. So instead, Treshon was just given 2.5 years of supervised probation and an ankle monitor for the first 2 months. So he would be on house arrest for the first 2 months, and then after that, Treshon would not be allowed to own or purchase any more police gear, and his probation officer will be keeping up with all of Treshon's socials, including his dating apps, to make sure that he's no longer posting about him being a police officer. And yeah, that is the end of today's case. I hope you guys found this case interesting. It was honestly a wild ride. I feel like I don't really do many true crime stories like this, but this was just so crazy from beginning to end. I think it's kind of funny in a lot of ways too, but I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. One big part a lot of people were talking about this case was specifically Treshon's sentence. A lot of people believed that with Treshon's background, him having 2 restraining orders, one of them had been reactivated, and also he had missed his court date due to an assault, and that assault court case was actually made by his ex-girlfriend. So due to all of this, a lot of people thought that he was kind of a danger to society and should get some sort of jail time, but unfortunately he didn't. He literally just got 2 years of probation, and this happened back in 2023. So probably sometime this year, he's gonna just be a free man again, ready to do whatever he wants. But those are all my thoughts, and I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. And yeah, that is all from me. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day today. And as always, I love you, I love you, I love you, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!